We are approaching the last but not the least speech on this part of our conference. And Veronica, they shared this dialogical cultural level, how it is highlighted, how it should be highlighted. And in the next speech, we are going to discuss how it shall be really then fostered. Certain time ago, I was honored to start working with Petrovich company and with Olga Levchenko, who is the head of the Center for Corporate Culture and Employer Brand. Colleagues were really interested in stories and how they work these stories. And values, they existed in this company already, but they were wonderfully articulated in 2019. We've revitalized the values and we launched a very nice initiatives that are called the value committees. So the heads were joining and were discussing stories that were shared by employees. The stories showed how the values were actually evident. With Olga, previously to this conference, we had a talk about these committees. So I asked questions. Last year, colleagues, they got Intercom awards for their work with the values, and Olga was happily presenting their work. Olga is now on business trip, so on the business trip. So this is why now I'm ready to share the video recording of our interview. This is a total exclusive, so please enjoy. Hi, Olga. I'm happy to have you with us. Thank you for joining me at this conference. Thank you very much for inviting me, for having me. It's always a pleasure. We are going to discuss with you your work with the committees, those mandatory committees that you started to revive this whole work with values. So in Petrovich, you started this work with values long ago. How you've decided to have those committees? Why you've decided to reinvent the values that you had? Well, in Petrovich, we always had the special atmosphere. It was mentioned previously when we were having those first steps in 1995. Um, and the CEO actually launched this reinvention of values. He joined Petrovich because he wanted to work exactly here. This was his dream actually, and he was sharing it during the newcomers. He was seeing what type of people are working in Petrovich, what services they provide, how they're working. So he wanted to have such company that is Russian company. Service was a core for us. It was a competitive value for us. Service was a kind of a religion for us, and client was always the top priority for us. And talking about, we understood that service is unimaginable without this understanding of who is working. So we thought that this is a high time to start the work of values. And, and our priority is not the client as such as a person, as an individual, people, all people, clients, delivery guys, they are our main pillars. This is why in 2019 we understood that it's high time to reinvent our values, this breath of fresh air. And when we proceeded, just as usual, we had the 2 day session where we were looking at the values, and afterwards we were choosing the employees that were part of the working groups, and We were checking if the values are really close to them. And those values are really the values that can be shared by everyone. Development, um, for example, the care about the neighbor. This is what was important. Can you tell more? So first you worked with the leadership, then you worked with the focus groups. Can you describe it in more details? This was a very long path. Um, it took maybe somewhere around 6 months. We had this a very slow process. So we don't want use to be pushed upon the team members. We're not choosing some ambassadors or something like this. We don't use value ambassador. We, we can say like you share the values, you have a strong corporate culture, but we never have ambassadors because we have our top directors as the keepers of the values. So the employees were joining and they were explaining what means to be a friend, what it means to overcome difficulties. So, what are the main behavior indicators for those who overcome difficulties, who are friends, and so on? So, we have several indicators that show you that you're doing something more than you don't do enough. You now also carry out this 360-degree assessment, and this essay has become this part of this assessment. You had a set of values, right? And then you decided to work with focus group. You decided to discuss what are the indicators, how the values manifest itself. So on this stage, you were not working with stories as such. No heroes, no hero during, only the hero, no committee, nothing existed at that time. So, narrative directors, they sometimes substitute everything that works with the stories. I don't believe this is true. You started with a very rational path, and you were working with the governing values, and then you were strengthening them. Now I really understand better how the whole process started. How you actually introduced these committees. As for committees, they were created in order to uh, accumulate stories. We were reading stories, reviewing them. We wanted to have more stories so that employees were seeing those. We wanted to copy the behavior, but for the first committees, we were just arguing because sometimes even sea level, we couldn't really understand how to assess certain activities, if it's good or bad, if it's something heroic or not. So it took us several meetings to get synchronized in order to understand who's a hero for us. So employees, we were submitting their stories and you were reading them out loud during the committee, or they were joining you during these meetings. Employees were sharing the stories. They could share the story themselves. The C-level can share the colleagues who've seen something, like we've seen something, and they decide. Sometimes people they don't want to share the story about themselves, but then they see a story unfolding, they can share it. Can you quote an example of the story? So to understand what sort of stories the people were bringing. Well, I will tell about the bucket of cucumbers. This is a very nice story. Well, sometimes it seems so simple, but actually it's really unique. So this is how we show the stories. This is a colleague of Vyacheslav who shared this story, and it's about the bucket of cucumbers that was presented to Vyacheslav. Well, this story is about the person from the client service who helped to restore the door to the garage to one of the clients. And actually, this client then brought back the bucket of cucumbers. So I will read this out loud. So this story happened in April 2025, and it shows this value that the person is a priority. In the commercial department, the client has phoned to, he wanted some help in repairment of the door to the garage. This person, this client, received this help, but the employee rejected to take money just because he helped because he could. And this client brought the whole bucket of cucumbers as a gift. Well, how you've decided, how you've arranged this with your sea level, that this is also a heroic deed. We already had 21 committees and we are really aligned. We have very different cases. Those are not just ordinary cases. Employees, they share it, they read the outcomes of the committees and they take notice of what stories are heroic. They see like, hey, they read the story about this bucket of cucumbers. I can share my story as well. No. So then the employee sees the stories and sees that we believe that they are heroic stories. This employee can be more apt to share his or her own story. Also, we had the whole scope of work done um, in order to work with the stories throughout 2022-2024. We spread the news in our corporate magazine. We also had the videos. We created an illustrated calendar with uh, brief stories, with brief drawings of those values. This year is the year of the value dedicated to. We have every year allocated to particular value. We even have a special merchandise prepared. For example, this year is the year of the value that is called the person is in priority. We have this new collection of merchandise that was just launched. So this is the very organic support of our values. We believe values are not just posters, not just messages. They are everywhere, but in very slight dosing. So after committees, you shared the stories uh, of your place that the committee decided are the best, right? So at the same time, you also had the communication, the merge, and so on. And I have the following question actually as a follow-up question. And how you select the stories? What stories are to be avoided and what are not to be avoided? How not to make people sad? So sometimes when I work with stories, uh, I share the story of another of one person, and others can be a bit disappointed. We have a proper communication. Like if you have these same stories, please share. So we were giving prizes to everyone. If we would have 100 to 2 hours, if we have the stories, so much stories, but we need to spend 2 hours, we'll spend 2 hours. If we have more, we'll spend more. So there are no limitations. So all stories, they were actually eventually published in our regulation. We used to have the pre-committee. For example, when department submits too much stories, then at the first, we were discussing all of those stories submitted by one department. We were reviewing those stories with the heads of the departments and saying like, "Hey, this is just those are just the stories of minor improvements. They're not heroic stories." So we have this sort of limitation. So if there are too many stories, we just have a kind of a pre-committee. This is what is specified in our internal regulation. So as a result, you have this transparency because you have this synchronization in between the heads of departments. That's great. Try to make it as transparent as possible, to make it as clear as possible. You can submit as many cases as you want, but they try to give an understanding. So, for example, this story with cucumbers, our employee has no responsibilities to help people with garage doors. This person has just helped, and this is it. Well, and, during the pandemic, we had this online award ceremony. Usually, the award ceremony was very brief. We didn't know what to say sometimes, and so on. Because people who submitted stories, we were sometimes embarrassed, and we were just saying, "Thank you very much for the award," and this is it. We didn't really like it, so we decided to change the format. So we wanted to make something more vivid, and we decided that we need to go to our heroes. Let's go to one of the participants because we want to be near the person. We want this person to share the story. So we've decided to come to a person who submitted a story about himself. So the rest were online, but we came to our shop where we had our hero, his chief, and it was so great to discuss it. We had a tea, we were talking, we were discussing some ordinary life routine. One of the heroes just shared that he just married and so on. So it was very warm, cozy meeting. and it just grew. Now we've decided, well, at first we thought that how we need to speak about values. We've decided to have the live broadcast for the whole company. Why we don't need to have it silent? Everyone knows we were coming to our heroes. And we decided to have the live broadcast. That's not a recording. This is really goes live. So you go to the shop and you have a live broadcasting right from there. That's cool. This was a bit extreme. For example, we came to Petrovich. That's quite far away. Unfortunately, we didn't have the photos right now. So the directors, we all came there. Not only our CEO, all other directors also joined. And actually, for our personnel, just the fact that all the directors they decided to come for their sake. Maybe some of the personnel, some of the staff members, they were a bit anxious, but actually they felt very festive. They were sharing their stories once again. We were sharing their emotions. For example, oh, you read the story. This is it. This is one thing. But then the person shares the story orally and says more about the emotions. You relive this story once again, and this is exactly what we wanted. So stories really um, became potent. Well, it was so important for everyone to see, to listen to those stories. Many people were actually putting reactions. They were sharing their stories in the chat while listening, and it was so great. And this was part of the live broadcast, so it was really cool. Well, so during the committees, you agree upon the stories, then you started to ask for to join online with those people about whom the stories were. So employee had lots of recognition in this flow. This is really great. So story submission, story review, then online event, and then even the offline event. That's really cool. Actually, during apart from those ab- actions that you've just mentioned, were there some physical words or something like this? Not only the attention on the side of the directors. Yeah, yeah. After every committee, we write special letter, very motivating. We express gratitude to the head, to the employees, and they can choose the compensation. This doesn't mean the monetary compensation, because values are not only about money. This is something non-material. But at the same time, we try to somehow uh, provide some benefits to such members because those are good examples, and we want to have more such stories. And we understood that, um, well, it doesn't really take lots of money. You can start really small. We were given achievement labels on the corporate portal. For example, we have the achievement label for donors, for those who run marathon and so on. We changed those labels as well, and we now have this achievement label for heroes, and people actually proud to have lots of those achievement labels. And as for the benefits or compensations, we thought that values are something that can be touched. So this is why we've decided to think of the benefits that cannot be touched as well. So we wanted to um, give something that is not touchable, not a notebook, but the knowledge, not the smartwatch, but the sport, not the headphones, but the emotions. Our idea was the following that so what you wanted for so long, but you haven't really got the possibility to try. So actually, when our employees submit the stories, they also write that this corresponds to a particular value, and sometimes we also give as a gift the very relevant gift. For example, there was a story related to overcoming, and this person who wrote the story about the overcoming of difficulties and of some inner difficulties, this person said that he wanted to have this parachute jump, and we gave this gift. And now we also have internal currency. So we provide internal currency to buy the internal merchandise, the merchandise from the internal store. They have wonderful merchandise, and people actually are really eager to get stock. So, well, I believe you should start also small. If you're thinking about values, if you have wonderful merch, you can add the values a bit. And please don't save money on merchandise because our merchandise is used everywhere. So people are actually not wearing it only in office in our warehouses. Oh, this is interesting. Thank you very much. And I have several questions. So, um, wonderful system of compensation, and it's really great that if the person has actually shown a certain value, you can just ask if there's something you want, something as a gift that will be also related to this value. I really like this idea. I would really like to steal this idea and name and say this is mine, but I won't do so. That is for the budget. So you have comedy, you have the broadcast, you have the script, the person who was a hero, you have the merch. Can you share the budget a bit? What is the return on investment? How you can see that this money are paid back? The investment, the inefficiency. This is like the main things. The budgets, they're not so big. Well, we don't do posters. We've printed them in 2019, 2020, and this is it. We don't need now to have the scale up campaign. We also produce merchandise as such because we have different sports activities. We have activities where people can receive uh, merchandise. Then we volunteer. Then we donate blood. Then they pass certain courses. They get the internal currency and they can buy the merch from our internal store. But as for the time, for example, Yevgeny, the owner, the directors, they came. But this is their time. And time is money. Well, then the directors go to the employees. This is their time. But this is also part of their job description. In our engagement survey, we also now have the questions related to values. So now we have this understanding. If people really adopting the values, we have the dynamics checked. If people believe that leadership is following the values and so on. We have other questions. If the leadership is open and if their actions are transparent, I believe that people on such level, they come to you to even to remote shops like in a warehouse somewhere in Petrozavodsk, then the top management comes. It feels like, hey, yeah, they're really open-minded. They are open, and it just shows some goodwill. Uh, we are working with a good energy. This is what we want to foster. We want to share this positive energy, positive good vibes. These are all parts of service. So this is part of our mission, of our brand culture. We want to be caring, not just only about the client as such, also an internal client. So we see that people are now more engaged. The people react better to the brand. They are more involved. You see the dynamics here, for example. This is the NPS, and you see how the value, the adaptation of values or invention of values has influenced positively the EPS level. We especially see this scaling up in 2022, 2023. So we really feel like the values are now properly part of the corporate culture. So our employees, there it's possible they mention in an engagement survey that they feel caring, they feel warmth, the support. But you're the retailer. How it's possible? Well, it is possible because we care about people, not only external clients, but also internal clients. A company can exist only when we have people. If we won't have people, there won't be any sales. If we won't care, we won't have NPS. People won't come to us. We won't have clients that come back to us. They want to go to those shop assistants who help and who also feel comfortable on their workplaces. I really like what you've just shared, that people are coming back. It really reminds me of the story that you have in your video for the onboarders. I can watch this video. Oh, thank you very much. This was actually with your help. The video is created for onboarders, but actually many people are crying. I'll share it with the audience right now, so for us to enjoy it all.
Был обычный рабочий день. Подъемщик закончил разгружать доставку и, выходя уже из дома, заметил, что хозяйка, пожилая женщина, бросает в печку небольшие щепки. И при этом во дворе у нее дровник со множеством дров. Он мог спокойно уехать, но подъемщик остался, перенес дрова в дом к пожилой женщине и еще наколол ей вперед на много-много дней. Эта история лично мне сказала очень много о наших людях. Мы не просто продаем цемент, арматуру, плитку, ламинат. Мы помогаем людям строить жизнь. Это несущая сила, которая помогла нам превратиться из маленькой компании, которую знали только прорабы в Петербурге, в федеральную сеть. Это энергия, которая наполняет смыслом работу каждого из нас.
Well, this is really about the energy that you've just mentioned, right? Yeah, this positive power that we share. I really like it. That that was also part of the video dedicated to. Um, um, there was also the addition to this story that another lady called and shared this story that, hey, you know that your team member has just done. He helped my neighbor a lot, and she thanked him as a neighbor. Well, we all understand that data that's not enough. This is just some quarterly reports. But how actually you helped the leadership to understand that stories are not for the quotas. This is a marathon, not a sprint run. The main keeper of values is our owner, Evgeny. He's very engaged. He is very supportive. When we have him during the meetings, during the committee. His words, even in this video, this is his voice. Well, he's always present. His employees, the directors, they feel that he supports the idea that he uh, likes these work with stories with values. I've never set any deadline or, or tasks related to values. Sometimes you know that you need to do the job that will actually be bearing fruit only in 2 years. No one was saying to me like, "Hey, this is the Q2 of 2026. By this time, we need to have this and those values ready." There was nothing like this. No rush. I was trusted, and I was really thankful for that. I see that the newcomers that who come to us, they actually change. We have meetings with those who uh, long ago with in our company, and I see how even my boss sees that values we actually start really penetrating the whole fabric of our company. You see, now the situation in the country is quite difficult, but still we are doing very good. We have everything we need. We have almost all the positions filled. We see how people still want to join us. Um, well, probably I described the whole process that it was really smooth. Yes, it was, but it took it us quite some time. You cannot just do such work in a quota in a year. Probably some of you are just thinking about the work of values. You rethink them, read them. Probably you're just quoting them because actually, even if you don't name them, they're already in there. So I really urge you to continue to do this work, but please bear in mind that we still take several years because the most important things they don't come gypsy. The most important things they shall be done. Then there is no resistance. When there is too much resistance, it feels like you are doing something wrong. And if you share the values of the company, then you are just in the right company. This is the case for me. I'm on my place. I love my job. I love the values that we have. So what I'm doing with values of the company is actually really part of me because the values they resonate. Thank you very much. Thank you for this wonderful conclusion. And from all my heart, I wish your company prosperity to have more um, companies that actually work as Petrovich works. Thank you very much, Olia, for sharing your knowledge. Thank you very much, Artyom, for having me here.